From a scientific standpoint, how could you not? From a humanities standpoint, how could you not want to?
Scientist.
I live and breathe eclipses. CEO.
Cartography.
Journalist.
Astronomer.
I'm an amateur astronomer.
Can it be a hyphenated word? Eclipse evangelism.
Astrophysicist.
Astronomer.
Science.
Teach.
One word, what do you do?
Panic. Organize.
Celebrate.
Observer.
Tourism.
Research.
Transportation operations.
Inspire.
Artist.
Science.
That one was easy.
If a solar eclipse is coming, it's happening no matter what. But whether or not you get to see it is another story. In 2017, one crossed the US from Oregon to South Carolina. And now, only 6 years, 7 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days later, we're getting another. Last time around, there was a group of people making sure communities were prepared. And this time, they're doing it again. Even while shouting from the rooftops about this, their goal is not to be in the spotlight, but to put you in the shadow. And let me tell you, they are a fascinating bunch.
What conference are we at?
We are at the American Astronomical Society Solar Eclipse Workshop, which is about planning for solar eclipses, and there are 2 of them coming in the next 6 months.
One of our well-known heliophysics researchers Shadi Habal, organized a planning workshop for the solar eclipse in 2017. One of the outcomes from that was a desire to have more broad input into planning, and we decided to establish a task force. So I put the proposal to our board, and they approved it, and that allowed us to form a working group and a task force to come together and make plans. And then after they did a great job in 2017, we renewed them for the next year, and they've been working the last couple of years to plan for outreach events for the 2024 eclipse that's coming up next April.
So we've been running these workshops since actually 2012. I got involved in 2014. And the idea is to help communities to get ready for eclipses. People don't realize that there's actually a lot to do, that it's almost like handling a natural disaster, except it's coming and it'll be a lot more fun with less carnage. We engage with all the stakeholders in order to make sure that when a solar eclipse happens, people enjoy it safely and get the most out of it.
In 2014, when we formed the task force, I was working as the AAS press officer. As someone whose whole reason for being professionally is to share the wonders of astronomy with other people, I insisted that I be part of it. So why did I continue on into retirement to do it? One reason is because I haven't yet learned how to say no, but the real reason is because I really do get a lot of satisfaction from sharing astronomy with the public. And that's what this Solar Eclipse Task Force is all about.
So I got involved with the AAS starting back in 2014 when I went to my first workshop.
I attended the very first eclipse organizing workshop in 2012, and I wanted to become involved with this community, and boy did I get involved with this community.
I've been writing about eclipses in a quite intensive way in the last few years as we approach the American eclipses, largely because I write for Forbes.com. The AAS asked me to come over here all the way from the UK to talk about what I want from eclipse event organisers in terms of writing about these events.
When my daughter Ella was 11 and she came home from the Strasbourg Planetarium here in Rochester, New York, and said, "Mom, in 5 years I will have my license, I'll be 16, and you and I are taking a road trip to Missouri." So I came home really on fire to pull together the Rochester community to make sure that by the time 2024 came, we would be ready, and we'd be ready to make the most of this time in the spotlight.
2016, or day after, our Federal Highways Public Affairs Office had gotten an email from a member of the Memphis, Tennessee Astronomy Society, and he wrote and said, what's Federal Highway doing for the eclipse? And the woman in public affairs, Nancy, sent me the email and said, Lori, this is yours. And then spent the next few months while I was still at Federal Highway convincing people that this was something they needed to think about, because I got laughed at it every single time.
I guess back in 2017, during the Great American Solar Eclipse, I managed the astronomy lab and telescopes that we use for undergraduate teaching at Harvard. So I started thinking about accessibility and how we can include students in all of our labs. And that first came with, my naiveness, like thinking just physical accessibility. But then that kind of grew, like thinking, okay, well, what if we have, a visually impaired student or, a deaf student? How do we incorporate these things?
I've been a member of the AAS since I was a student. AAS is the premier group for scientists and astrophysicists like myself. And I was drafted into the AAS Eclipse Task Force. Angela Speck and Rick Feinberg are very, very persuasive when they want to be. Keep that in.
Absolutely.
Angela knows what she did.
Simply because everyone here is either literally or figuratively in the path of this eclipse, doesn't mean they had to spend their time and effort preparing and energizing people. But they had their reasons.
So we get people attending these meetings that are from all over the country. Some of them on the path of totality or annularity. Some of them are just from somewhere else in the country that gets a partial. But it's really about all the people that need help. So it could be tourism folks, it could be transportation, it could be journalists, it could be other emergency management folks, it could be scientists, it could be educators. And we get all of them, and we're trying to help all of them get ready.
What is an eclipse? Ooh, that's kind of a loaded question.
An eclipse is a really special alignment, and we live in a really special time to be able to see it.
An eclipse is when something blocks your view of something else.
Do you want to go or should I?
Go ahead.
Okay. An eclipse is the most magnificent sight that anyone will ever see in nature.
And we are in this privileged position where the moon is just the right size and it's just far away enough that it appears to be the same size as the sun in the sky. And the moon is actually moving away from the Earth. So at some point in the future, there won't be eclipses. We live on a privileged planet where there's life, in a privileged Earth-Moon system where the moon's the right size and the right distance that it appears to block the light of the sun every couple of years. And we are privileged to live in the right period of time so that we can actually experience it before the moon moves too far away, and it won't happen. And it's really that impermanence that makes it special.
A total solar eclipse is life itself. It is, it is the being. It is brief, it's intense, it's fleeting, it's just there, you experience it, you live it, you're in that moment, and then it's over. And so, you really have to embrace these moments when you can. So I think that's why totality for me is something that I will be chasing forever, because it's the metaphor for life.
It's a moment.
And there's no other experience like a total solar eclipse. It's, people say, what's it like? And there is nothing else like it. It's its own thing.
Getting to share this with both my daughter and with my wife, I honestly just can't wait to hold them close and watch the eclipse together.
If you haven't seen a total eclipse, if you only think you've seen one, you haven't seen one. You have to see one. It's a bucket list item that will rival anything that you can experience on this planet.
The most unnatural, natural thing, and it just makes the hair on my neck stand up.
You're seeing, you're hearing, you're feeling the winds, all those things, and it's kind of like trying to describe a rainbow to somebody that's never seen one, right? How do you describe a rainbow?
It was amazed. Unless you're talking about being a community planner, then it was relieved.
One emotion that I feel is connection. It's tangible, especially when you're with a large group of people who are all there for the same reason. Everybody who goes to be in a group is feeling a connection to each other and to the sky.
I feel really lucky. I feel like somehow I've really lucked out to be able to witness this really amazing thing. And I'm also sort of blown away by when people are with us who are witnessing it for the first time, how many people actually cry? That really gets me. That's like, they get how cool this is too.
It's hard to put into words.
It stops you. It just stops you and grabs you and makes you stare into the sky.
Oh my gosh. So my first word, this is terrible. I don't think we can use this. The first word that came to mind was death. That's terrible. But it's like the sun's going out. It's going away. And so I'm sure that people in other cultures thought, oh my gosh, the sun has died.
Actually fright, because what happens during an eclipse is that the temperature drops at the same time that the light that we see around us gets dimmer and dimmer. And I try and put myself in the shoes of ancient peoples who might have been witnessing them and not understanding in the way I can what was taking place.
Awesome. But I have to predicate that. Nowadays, we hear a lot of words pulled from the English language that are overused. Awesome is one of them. So in a way, awesome has really lost its meaning because it gets used for so many things so often, and often things that really don't call for that strength of a word, that strong a word. But in the case of a total solar eclipse, it is absolutely awesome because you as an observer are awestruck by what you see because it just leaves you in awe about what the mechanics of the solar system really can produce.
Whew, these days I'm talking to anyone who will listen.
I talk to everyone. I have chatted with, preschools, I've chatted with senior centers, with universities, with businesses, with chocolatiers, with funeral homes, hospitals, government officials, photographers, you name it, I've started to chat with them.
I started out interacting with students, with the public, the visitors to national parks. Those are the folks that I gave talks to, lectures to, and started drawing my posters and writing my books for. But honestly, for the last few years, I don't talk to anybody. I'm just an artist here in my studio. So that's weird.
My specialty is everyone who wants to do science or is interested in science. My audience is also people who are interested but may have been told that science is not for them. I was one of those people. I came from a very poor background. I was not able to go to the good schools and was always told that because of that, I would never be able to do the type of science, to do astrophysics like I wanted to. When I found out that they were wrong, and by the way, all of you, I am Dr. Henry Winter, astrophysicist, it was a feeling of empowerment. And I want to share that feeling of empowerment with other people who might have been told that they can't do the thing that they want to do, and to work with them in order to find ways that they can.
One piece of advice would be to have a backup plan.
Make a good effort to see the eclipse, and if you have friends and family who aren't planning on seeing the eclipse, talk them into seeing it with you.
In preparing for the 2024 total solar eclipse, buy eclipse glasses, come early, leave late.
Start planning as soon as possible. Involve as many of your local partners as possible. You want to be as inclusive as possible. No one group owns it, and the larger the community of planners are, the more people will know about it, more people will be interested in participating because they'll feel that they've been included from the beginning.
Get into the path if you possibly can. And if you're somebody who's serving people who are coming into the path, connect with them and help them make the most of it.
I can't necessarily tell you why it's worth it to you because the eclipse experience is very singular and it's different for everyone. I've never heard any two people explain seeing a total solar eclipse in the same way.
I don't think you can convince someone to do something, but I think you should encourage someone to not miss an experience that could change their life.
This is going to be unlike anything you've ever seen, experienced. It is going to blow your mind as you line up with the sun and moon, and the entire universe aligns with you.
What do you tell a skeptic? It's really so hard because it's difficult to describe. It's a feeling. The rooster really did crow. The cow really went to the barn. Fish even came to the surface of the pond expecting an evening feeding. I mean, these were the things that people really grasped onto, that it wasn't just them, it was the entire universe that something was happening to around them.
Only in the path of totality will you get to experience a total solar eclipse.
It moves people in a way that that falling in love moves people. And why would you not want to have that experience at least once in your life?
What's the big deal? Earth goes around the moon? No. Moon goes around the Earth. Earth goes around the sun. I know what a shadow is. It gets dark every night, so what's the big deal? I was a skeptic too. But having that experience that never happens in normal life, giving you that perspective on how the universe works, there's nothing like it. It's almost impossible to explain unless you've been in totality. Life is about writing your own story. And you want this to be part of your story. You want this to be a chapter that you look back on and you talk about for the rest of your life.
Through the course and scope of my job, it's been to get people prepared for the influx of visitors, to get people prepared for, the strain it's going to have on our resources, on transportation, on communication. But I think right now, with such little time before, one of the messages I'm really trying to make sure I add in my conversations is, especially if it's to individuals who are working on an event or heavily involved in their community, make sure to take time to appreciate the eclipse for yourself. Because this is as much for you as it is for everyone else that you are helping to prepare.
All these people know each other because of something determined by the physics of our solar system an unfathomable amount of time ago. This hodgepodge of people are here because of one peculiar little thing. So what it looked like to have them all in a room together, I couldn't have imagined.
We are the biggest nerds, and all of our friends who think that's still really cool.
It's a very open group. That's what I like about it. People are willing to have conversations, willing to share ideas. It's a very upbeat group.
These are the professionals that I look to for advice and direction.
No, I can't describe that group because it's too diverse, and that's why I like it. I like diversities in groups. I like working with people who know things I don't know because that's the way I can learn.
They are the neatest mix of people that come to those AAS Eclipse workshops. You've got the scientists, you've got organizers, but like the people that are like the Eclipse task force organizers for their own individual town, they tend to be just these people who are like, well, nobody else was going to stand up and do this. So they decide, all right, I'm going to organize the eclipse.
A bunch of crazy people. I mean, anybody that would jump in a car or jump in a plane or jump in anything and go to far reaches of the globe just to stand for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, they got to be crazy. I'm crazy enough to do it myself.
Everyone wants to help each other. Everyone wants everyone else's eclipse event to be the best ever.
I mean, I live and breathe eclipses, but everybody else who is attached to the AAS task force lives and breathes eclipses too. I mean, you could tell everyone is so passionate about it. Everybody works above and beyond. There's such a sense of goodwill and sharing of resources. And so I remember when the Rochester group happened, it was like a big family reunion.
We have the same heart. We are all inspired by the stars. We're all inspired by community. And we're all inspired about inspiring others.
So it is just a real, if you sliced a tree, you would just see all these different skill sets and knowledge and capabilities. And that's the trick, is making sure that everyone's included.
It's not just one person, and most people don't see all of the work. And so my co-conspirators on this are Rick Feinberg, who's the program manager, and Deb Ross, who is my co-chair. And without them, this would not be happening.
The one word I would use to describe all of the people that I work with in the American Astronomical Society is passionate. A lot of people think that scientists are cold, that we're logical. I don't know where they got that idea. But they don't see us as being energetic or, having that enthusiasm. And that's incorrect. We are all here because we love what we do. And that enthusiasm and that passion drives us to strive for things that we've never done before.
So many words come to mind. I mean, mentors, gurus, guides. I mean, they are bringing together a nation of people of all walks of life and education. You know, they are the true ambassadors of this experience.
It's been really nice to have that connection with the AAS group for such a long period of time. And I'm almost starting to mourn that process because we're coming to the end of the planning cycle, you know, not far to go. And I'm mourning that process because, you know, you get to know people over a long period of time, all working with the same passion and goals. It's a great group of people with lots of expertise. So I'm just very privileged to be part of that process, part of that group.
These people have been working so hard for years to bring you to something in the sky. They have come to care so deeply for what they've made on the ground.
It's a permanent thing, right? We're now all eclipse chasers, and even though there won't be another major one in the continental US for 21 years, we're all going all over the world to have this experience with each other. The connections aren't going away, and I think everybody's life is just better off, and my life is just infinitely better off for knowing all of these people who are working so hard to make this thing happen for far in the future for just a few minutes. People who are motivated that way, they're extraordinary, and there's nothing like being connected with them, and I love this. I love this so much.
Is that what you got?
That's what I got. I love this so much. I love this so much. I kind of almost don't want this story to end. I kind of don't want the eclipse to come because this is so much fun. But I do. I want that story. I want to know what the end of the story is, but it's kind of the beginning of the story for lots of us who've been doing this. And we get to do it again in Egypt or Spain or Australia or other places for the rest of our lives.
This is my mom. I'm the one who brought her to the last eclipse, and she's the reason I got to meet those who are bringing you to this one.
I'm so glad you're part of it. I love this so much. Okay.
Going into this whole thing, I expected to find a bunch of tough, tired, hardworking people, ready for this all to be over. And don't get me wrong, they are all those things. But standing there, asking them questions that most have been asked over and over, and some who were nervous to be speaking about this for the first time, what I got was joy. Sure, they were tough enough to deal with the battering that they've taken over the course of years, but they were all still gentle and open. Yes, they were tired, but in the happiest way. And yes, they absolutely worked as hard as they could. They still had the energy to laugh and do it all over again next time. All these people volunteered their time and effort, but man, do they love it. They love that they're helping people experience what they love so much.
And we are not competing. We all want to work together to make things better for everybody. And that's something that you don't always find. And that makes me excited and ready to do the next thing, maybe after a nap.
How I feel with working with the AAS is exciting, maybe a little intimidating. I'm a tourism director. I had to teach myself a lot about eclipses so that I could convey that information to my community and educate them. But the group has been fantastic. They're very supportive, and I look to them for any questions or advice that I need in my community planning.
Everyone on the Solar Eclipse Task Force is committed to the effort, and by the end of the effort will need to be committed. But I feel like I am among friends and fellow enthusiasts who share many of the same motivations that I do, which is, we want people to have a safe and enjoyable experience. We want the country to feel like it's successfully wrangled this massive event, which is like having a Super Bowl in 20 or 30 cities all at the same time on the same day. Everybody knows what they bring to it and how to take their piece of what they bring to it and fit it into all the other pieces.
And so, after all this, it seems to me there's just one more question. Where will they all be on April 8th of 2024?
Fairhaven Beach State Park.
Horseshoe Bay Resort, Texas.
I'll be right here at Franklin Institute in Philadelphia.
Rochester, New York.
Mexico.
Carbondale, Illinois.
Here.
Fredericksburg, Texas.
Perryville, Missouri.
TBD, we'll let you know.
I think at this point, now that we're done with this, we've nailed it.
Beautiful.